Welcome back. This is Unrendered. I'm Chester Connell and our guest, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. Dr. Gonsalves, CARICOM, as this is being broadcast, I believe, which is Sunday, certainly our premiere, CARICOM is the next day. And we have a range of issues to talk about. What are the top 3 agenda items for you?
We have about 20 items on the agenda. The CARICOM agenda is always long. But the central items are the sustainable development using information communications technology, the question of human resource development, and more particularly, establishing across the region a better paradigm in relation to education and reforms which can take place there. We are doing some, but we want to see how we can advance even further. The region is on that. Always, of course, the issue of citizen security is there. Climate change is a big one. We have to have some concluding instructions to our negotiators with the Canada, CARICOM, the Trade and Development Pact. Those are some of the weighty central issues. They're on the agenda to issues of more recent import, the issue of Haitians born in the Dominican Republic, the question of medical marijuana and reforms in the laws of for marijuana, possession of marijuana, for personal and religious use, the matter of reparations for native genocide and slavery, air transportation, sea transportation, the nature of our economies. There's a CARICOM Economic Commission, which is doing, it has had several meetings and it will be reporting at this conference. So that's a work in progress in a sense. Similarly, the Transportation Commission, both for air and sea transportation. Then there are reform items concerning the governance of CARICOM, which is a sturdy perennial. So those are the central things.
Okay. A lot of talking. You have been critical of CARICOM before. If I may say, suffice it to say, you synopsize it by saying it's a talk shop. There's a lot of talk going on in CARICOM. Is this another talk shop? Are we getting where we need to get? In other words, I think citizens of the Caribbean, of CARICOM, want to know, why can I not go to St. Lucia without? The same old questions that come up again. Why is a Guyanese or Jamaican being stopped in Barbados while the passengers of Virgin are going through uninterrupted? These are the real things that people want to do.
Well,
why can't that be done tomorrow?
Let us say this. CARICOM has had many accomplishments. Some modest, some much more than modest. For instance, increase in trade, for instance. Enhanced freedom of movement of persons from what we were in the early days after independence. Before independence, it was much easier. But after independence, a number of barriers were put up.
It seems that we've gone backward.
Yes, but those barriers are being dismantled bit by bit. And we saw the process leading to the decision in the Shanique Myrie case, which is all part and parcel of the institutions of CARICOM working. Now, I will say this, Chester. Some of the difficulties with CARICOM, or at least why some persons are disillusioned, is to some extent the critics have illusions as to what CARICOM is about and what it is not about. CARICOM is not a central government of disparate countries. CARICOM is not a federation of disparate countries. CARICOM is not even a confederation. CARICOM is designed in the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas of 2001, the revised treaty, and so it was in the 1973 treaty, as a community of sovereign states which is groping all the while for a consensus. The center of CARICOM doesn't have an executive commission to execute decisions in the way the European Union has it. Therefore, the decisions in CARICOM largely have to be implemented at the national levels. So when you talk about an implementation deficit in CARICOM, it's not so much an implementation deficit of the Secretariat, though the Secretariat has certain challenges and has to improve the quality of its work. It has to do with the failure and in some cases the refusal of governments individually to implement decisions which they had agreed upon solemnly at a CARICOM meeting. And some governments implement more and better than other governments. So I think, first of all, we must clear the perspective so that when people say CARICOM, they just don't look at the Secretariat in Georgetown. Now, that is why I say the governance arrangements is something which has to come under the microscope on an ongoing basis. I call it a sturdy perennial, because that is how we get decisions implemented.
Should we look at what happened? You just said that we had forward movement with one Jamaican lady going through Barbados who decided to take the matter to court, Caribbean court,
yes.
which is another positive.
Yes.
Our own courts dealt with that and came to sensible conclusions.
Absolutely.
So is that instructive to us that people should take?
It is instructive. It is instructive that people must use the institutions. I want to say CARICOM has done remarkably good work in the area of functional cooperation in education, in health, in social policy, in some areas of citizen security and the like, and not done as well. They've done well in coordinating trade and not done as well in some other areas. I ask this question all the time. Are the publics in the CARICOM member state ready for something more than a community of sovereign states? Do they have the will for something more than that?
So we say we want it, but can we handle it?
Well, this is the point.
Can we handle the truth?
In the OECS, we have an arrangement. Let us take freedom of movement of persons. In the OECS countries, the citizens of the member states can travel with a picture ID, and there is unlimited stay, and there is no requirement for a work permit.
That is for
the OECS countries, all citizens. St. Lucia has not fine-tuned the law in that respect, neither Antigua.
So I can go to Grenada tomorrow on my ID.
You can go to Grenada on your ID. You may not meet such a sensible immigration officer.
You see, therein lies the...
Wait, no, but I'm saying juridically what the situation is.
All right, fine.
But therefore, you can say to the immigration officer and you can make a complaint and you can say, listen, I can come in with my picture ID. Now, in so far as Vincentians are concerned, Vincentians would say, well, that's fine. There are 600,000 persons in the OECS. Oh, a lot of persons wouldn't come from the OECS to St. Vincent, so let us keep it that way. Do Vincentians want the same thing which holds for St. Lucians, Grenadians, Kititians, Dominicans, and so forth in the OECS to apply to Jamaica with 2.5, 2.8 million people, to Guyana with 800,000 people, or to Haiti with 10 million people? That's the question they have to ask honestly, which you have to answer honestly.
Yes.
And so I make this point that public policy making is not just a fellow writing in a newspaper, talking something on talk radio, or going on the internet and put up a blog, say, why don't you have all of this? No, it's fine for him to sit in New York with his naturalized American citizenship, to take this lofty position in that regard.
Yes.
But then for for the ordinary man and woman on the ground
Yes.
to answer the question which I have just posed.
Because the truth is, it's going to take sacrifice to move forward. That Jamaican lady who encountered the Barbadian immigration official, it was stressful for her to go through that process.
Absolutely.
To achieve what you wanted to achieve.
Absolutely.
So that is a question that we have to face. Are you prepared to do what is necessary?
Well, in the case
for
of St.
free
Vincent
movement?
and the Grenadines, we're a nation of laws. As soon as the decision came, the Myrie decision from the CCJ, I had the decision circulated to all the major players within the state administration. We had a summary, and meetings were held between the Attorney General, Chief Immigration Officer and his staff, the Director of REDU, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Redo is what?
The Regional Integration and Diaspora Unit, headed by Ellsworth John, which is a mechanism which we have put in place to facilitate the implementation cross-ministry of the decisions of CARICOM and indeed of the OECS. That's what I talk about, the implementation in the nation state. At this meeting with these 20 items on the agenda, decisions would be taken across several ministries. We mentioned IT, finance, trade, for instance, education, health, national security. You don't have all those ministers there and all those permanent secretaries. But when the decisions are made to be implemented, they have to be implemented through those ministries or eventually through the parliament by way of new legislation. So the role of the Regional Integration and Diaspora Unit in the case of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is to take all those decisions. Ambassador John will take all those decisions, and they will go out to the various ministries of relevance. I, as Prime Minister, would be on top of them from a political standpoint and from the cabinet, but they have to be implemented through the various ministries. And some countries do the implementation better than others. So the Myrie decision, we have implemented it.
It has made a difference.
Yes, it has made a difference. Because
And what's that difference, would you say?
to make it easier for persons within CARICOM to enter the country, within the rules as they are laid down.
Within the country, meaning...
Within any of the countries. For instance, if we go into Barbados come in here.
Essentially, what did the Myrie decision say?
Well, I think they're knocking for you to have another...
Yes, but we can finish that.
Okay, we can finish this
Yes,
point.
yes.
Good. First of all, it says that when a person comes, let us say from Barbados or Jamaica to St. Vincent, a Jamaican comes to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they have a right to enter. And they have a right to enter for up to 6 months. Not to work, but a right to enter. On what grounds do you stop them? You stop them if they have some security question at stake. And if you have that, you have to tell them, broadly speaking, that we are not allowing you to enter because of this security issue. Secondly, whether or not they have enough means, not whether they have enough money on them, but they may be coming to stay with Chester Connell, who may be outside waiting, and they say, well, Chester Connell is waiting on me. He has the means. And therefore, you have to take that into account. And if you are stopping the person from coming in, you have to give them something in writing why, and you have to tell them that they have a telephone call to contact a friend, a family, or a lawyer. So these are basic rights which the decision, or in the Myrie case, laid out. In other words, you have a right to enter. It is the state who has the onus to establish why you can't come in.
Precisely.
But for these two reasons. That is, you're going to be a burden, you don't have enough money,
Right.
or because there's a security problem.
Right.
It can't be because we don't like your locks.
Right.
Or we don't like Jamaicans.
Precisely.
Or that you are rude to the
Right.
immigration officer.
Right.
These subjective considerations do
Exactly.
not come into play.
Because
And in any event, when you hold people in any area where you're questioning them, the area must meet certain minimum standards. And that's why you have to offer them the opportunity to speak to a friend, a family member, a lawyer, or their consular representative, if there's a consular representative.
because even in the UK or the United States or Canada, that is offered to you. 6 months, right?
Absolutely.
Up front.
Yes.
This is Unrendered. I'm chatting with Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. We'll be right back.